Hello and welcome to the setup video for the brand new HobbyZone 450mm micro P-51D Mustang. So we already got it out of the box here, right? So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and put the landing gear on, and they simply just snap into place. You put them from the leading edge forward and slide them on, and the rear tail wheel here, you simply put the aircraft up in the air, and this points to the nose, and there's a slot inside that you just simply push the landing gear forward, and it's in place. So you have all the landing gear are now installed, and that's the only assembly needed on the aircraft. So with that, we'll move it over to the side. Now we have our transmitter and the included screwdriver. I'm going to go ahead and remove the back cover here on the transmitter. And we'll take the door off and install the, get the batteries installed here. And by the way, the batteries that come with the transmitter here are usually enough to get you started and get a number of flights on. But from a long-term perspective, I would always recommend putting some real high-quality batteries in there. These will most certainly be enough to get you started and get a lot of flights on it. But you don't want a transmitter battery dying on you while in the air. I know that from personal experience. Things don't go very well when you have a transmitter that dies. So just put the screw back in and put the cover on the back there. Okay, we got that going. So from there, you turn it to the on position. We got a little blinky light there. All right, there we go. Now we have our 1S battery. There is a USB charger that is included. You just simply plug this into a USB port, side of a laptop, a little phone charger, anything like that. You make sure that the battery is fully charged if you're going to go flying. This one is straight out of the box, so I've not had a chance to fully charge it, but we're also not going to go fly it right now. It's a rainy, stormy day outside, so it's a perfect day to work on setting this guy up. So to install the battery, there's a little door that's under the cowl here in front of the wings. You simply just open the door up, and then there's a wire inside there. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that out. Stuck down there at the moment, so there we go. Okay, so we have the wire pulled out for that. You always want to make sure when you're plugging in a battery here on an airplane that the transmitter throttle is all the way down. You can see that it's all the way in the down position. Your hands are always free of the prop. You don't ever want to have your hands around the propeller if you are plugging in a battery. Okay. Simply plug that in. It's already doing its little powered up dance. Close the door when you are done. Okay, so now we set the airplane off to the side here. And now we have to do a control system check, and then we're going to go over something that a lot of people fail to do. And by failing to do it, they're going to have a bad day if there's anything wrong. I like to do a control system check. So I'm going to turn the airplane actually towards me a little bit. Which normally I try not to do with the propeller installed, but I think from the camera, this is probably a better option. So from here, I'm going to move the aileron. I'm going to move the aileron stick to the right, and that aileron should go up. I'm going to push it the other direction, and the opposite aileron will go up as well. So I want to make sure that the control surfaces are correct. Typically when I do this, I do it so the airplane is facing away from me and I have the controller in my hand. And then from there, I do right aileron, and right aileron goes up. I go left aileron goes up. Okay? From here, I'm gonna pull the elevator I'm gonna pull back on the elevator, and the elevator should go up. I'm gonna push down on the elevator, and the elevator should go down. And then lastly, I'm gonna check the rudder. I'm gonna move the rudder to the right and then also to the left. So I want to make sure that all the control surfaces indeed are working. So I did that in experience mode. That way I make sure that I have the maximum amount of deflection on all my control surfaces. And deflection is how much that surface moves. So I'm going to go into beginner mode. Okay, I am now in beginner mode, and we're just going to check one more time to make sure all these work. So I'm going to do the elevator up and down. Yep. Aileron. Yep. The ailerons move a little bit less, actually not nearly as restricted as I would have thought. And now I'm pointing the airplane away from me, making sure that everything is clear of the prop. I'm going to add a little bit of throttle. Yep, it's got throttle, so everything works. Now, once you move the throttle up to 25%, you'll notice that if I move the airplane, the control surfaces move, right? If I pitch it up and down, I got control surface movement. Now, I'm in beginner mode. If you remember from my first intro video, it talked about how it's going to limit your ability to turn. It's also got self-leveling in beginner mode. So watch what the ailerons do, which are the control surfaces here on the wing. Watch what happens when I move the airplane, right? So if the airplane gets pushed into a bank, the one aileron comes up, the other one goes down, and it levels itself back out again. If I happen to end up going into an up position like this, the elevator on the back, this area here, goes down, and it's going to bring the nose back down. Same if I go this way. So it's got some self-leveling capability to it to help keep the airplane level. If I go into experience mode, now it doesn't have as much of that. Now what you're seeing is this movement, when I move it very rapidly, is called AS3X. So there is still movement with those surfaces, but it's a different type of movement, and that's more of that shock absorbing, trying to balance out if you get any wind. So with that, we've now checked to make sure all of our control surfaces work. They're all in the same direction that they are if I hit the buttons on the transmitter here. Verified that all three modes work: beginner, intermediate, and experience mode. And the last thing I would do is check the control surfaces to make sure that they're indeed all level. And to do this, you actually have to have the airplane sitting in a level attitude. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take like a straight edge or a credit card or a business card, and you lay it along the surfaces here. So you lay it like at the bottom of the elevator and make sure that that is flat. And you do the same to the ailerons. And I can already tell from looking at this that mine is actually, the elevator is too far pointed down. So there's a little wire that is in the back here, this little wire here, and what I need to do is actually expand that wire, and you can expand that using a pair of pliers. You can collapse it, and what that does is it's going to adjust this surface here so that it's flat, right? So if I lay this screwdriver on top of here, you can really get a good visual here that the elevator is not aligned to the stabilator, right? So I'm going to want to make sure I adjust that before we go flying. If I were to fly this right now, the airplane would most certainly head down into the ground because that's what the elevator is pointed. So it's just an easy adjustment to make with those wires, but you're going to want to make sure you do that before you fly. You're going to want to check the aileron, you're going to want to check the rudder. You're going to, look straight at hold the airplane, straight up and look at it from the top and the bottom here, and make sure that the rudder here is in line with the vertical stabilator. And then also make sure that the ailerons are level with the wings, which in this case, they most certainly are. I can tell just from visually looking at them that they're pretty straight. But you can check with, like I said, a credit card, a business card, a straight edge, ruler, all sorts of stuff. You're going to want to make sure that all the surfaces are straight. Once that is done and you have said, yeah, my airplane is good to go, the last thing you really need to do is, well, I'd be able to say the last two things you need to do. Check the weather before you go fly, okay? And there's a number, you can check your local weather, there's a lot of weather apps, the Weather Channel, there's a ton of ways, but what you want to look at is what is the wind speed and what is the wind direction. If the winds are anywhere from 5, 10, 20 miles per hour, stay home, go find something else to do that day. Don't go fly with something like this to get started with. If the winds are 0 to 5, I would say thumbs up. You're ready to go get this thing in the air. Also note the wind direction. You always want to make sure you are taking off into the wind, and then you are also landing into the wind. So when you get to the flying field, you want to take a look around, look at trees, look at flags, streamers, anything you have. You could even take the little piece of grass clippings, throw them up in the air, see which way they blow. Make sure that the airplane is always taking off into the wind and always landing into the wind as well. while it's not really a requirement, something that I would do just to be safe is I would check the center of gravity. And usually on microplanes like this, there's not too much adjustment on here, but just about, I would say not quite the halfway point of the wings, but just about where the landing gear are. You can just kind of put your fingertips on there and just see if the airplane balances. It's a very unscientific way of doing it, but it's just a verification that, yeah, the airplane is balanced in terms of center of gravity. And then, of course, the very last thing you want to do is pick a flying area that is safe. No houses around, no people around, no people walking dogs, things like that, right? I've had dogs come chasing after me in a field before where I thought I was the only one out there and someone was walking their dog and I almost lost my airplane to that. So learn from me, take a look around your surroundings, try to pick an area that is safe. And for something like this, I would say a baseball field, even half a soccer field would be enough, a large park. These would be areas that you could fly in. Because this is under 250 grams, you do not need to have FAA remote ID or anything like that on it. You are good to go to fly. Just make sure that you're flying in a safe area, and then you want to be a good steward of the hobby as well, and you want to make sure that you are flying in a safe manner, not close to people, not close to houses, not close to cars, traffic, and things like that. Just be a good steward of the hobby. And when you're learning, you want the least number of distractions as well. So don't fly where you're going to be distracted by trees, cars, people, things moving around, right? So pick a good area, pick good flying weather, good acceptable wind. Make sure you do your checks and adjustments beforehand. I obviously have to go adjust that elevator before I go fly, which I think I'll be able to do here probably with my screwdriver, or just grab a little pair of needle nose pliers and squeeze that little guide wire out until that is flat, and you are good to go. Quick little lesson for those, if you're really new to RC and you probably aren't familiar with this at all. The startup procedure for an airplane like this is you always make sure you turn the transmitter on first, then you plug your battery in, set the airplane down, let it sit and do its calibration. When it's time to turn the airplane back off, right? You've done all your flying, everything is great, you're high-fiving because you did an awesome job. You want to disconnect the battery first. And also make sure that you put the transmitter down and don't have anyone hold the transmitter or try to, because I've seen this before, right? Don't hold the transmitter. Have something like have your buddy hold it or your kid hold it, and they bump the throttle while you're trying to get the battery out. That's a bad idea. So always make sure the transmitter is set down and no one is playing with it. Go ahead and disconnect the battery here. That just simply slides out. Once the battery is disconnected, go ahead and close that door back up again, and go ahead now and turn the transmitter off. So transmitter on first, then battery out, transmitter off. Always make sure you follow those steps, and that will actually keep the airplane and the transmitter bound together. When I say bound together, meaning that they are linked by a radio frequency. So if you guys have got any questions at all on the setup or how to get your micro P-51 Mustang in the air, by all means, leave them in the comments below. I am always happy to help out.